Alright, we don't have a lot of time before lunch, so I just want to at least start this. We're going to do this first part together, and then everything else will be any questions you have, you want to go over, we're going to go over those. And you'll just use. Alright, so this first section, we are putting the symbols for whatever the words are. So sum would be which symbol? Plus. We can say this out loud. Product. Multiplication. I'm going to put the dot. Increase by. Minus. Quotient. Division. So I'm going to put the division symbol, but remember we're not using that anymore. Increase by. Plus. Difference. Minus. More than. Plus. Less than. Minus. And twice something. There we go. Alright. Look in this first section, 10 through. Find any you want to see, do go over, have questions about. Maybe you did it already, you want to double check it, anything like that. Okay.
Could you double check my thing?
You can tell me which one, and then we do it.
Right now? Okay. 15.
So tell me what you had, and then I'll see it.
I have a number squared times 8.
I'm just going to fix it a little bit and put 8 times. I know we want it in the order that we see it.
Okay. 17.
I have the product of 1/2 and the sum of x and y.
Product say that one more time.
The product of 1/2 and the sum of x and y.
I'm just going to fix one thing, make sure you have that and in there. So the product of 1/2 and, so that means the next thing we're multiplying. The sum of, so 1/2 is being multiplied to everything, x and y. You could have also said 1/2 times the sum of x and y. Others, we have like 30 seconds. Or you can pick one and then when we come back from lunch, we'll go. Alright, did we think about any others in that second section that we want to do, see, go over, have questions about?
Someone is playing something and it's loud. Or it's sounds like rock music or something. Metal music or something, or
Any questions from the second section?
oh,
19 is going to be similar to 17, but we are subtracting instead of adding. So someone give me a word or something that means 5 times everything.
5 times parentheses.
You can't say the word parentheses. You have to say a word that means parentheses, Jackson.
5 times the difference of a number of
Do that.
A and B.
It's 5 times the difference of A and that got really something. Sorry. 5 times the difference of A and B.
Did you say 5 times the difference of a product?
No, because if you want to use product, the only thing we're multiplying is 5 in this, so you could say the product of the difference of, but you couldn't use product for addition. Right? Other questions about that one? Questions in 20 through 35? Right now. 27. Any others in this section? I'll just circle them all right now. 22, the quotient of m and n. So the quotient of everything after that is what we're dividing, and these are the two things we are dividing. So we're going to write it as a fraction, m over n. (27) 1/2 the product of x and y. So even though it doesn't say it, 1/2 is going to be right next to the product of x and y, so we're going to be multiplying these together. Then the product of x and y, these are also being multiplied together. So we're going to have 1/2 and then x and y in parentheses. Questions on either of those two so far? 28, the product of twice a and b. So the product of everything here is being multiplied together. Twice a also means that we're multiplying. So we have twice a and b. And then 31, twice, so we're multiplying a number, some variable, increased by, so we're adding 3 times, again, multiplication, the number. Because it says the number and not a different number, we're going to use the same variable. So 2 times something, give me a variable, plus 3x. If this were simplifying, we would combine that terms, but we are not doing that for this one.
It doesn't matter what variable you put in.
It does not matter which variable. No, as long as it's the same. Questions on any of these so far, or any other questions in this section?
On 27, would it be the same as xy over 2?
In general. So if you were simplifying or evaluating and you wrote it like that, it would be fine. But for this, I would want you to write out the one. For the translating piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wrote that out first.
Why can't we choose 2 different variables?
Why can't we or why can't we?
Why can't?
Why can't? For this one?
Yeah.
Because it says a number and the number, we're talking about the same one. If it said a different number or it specified a different variable, then you would use 2 different ones. Any others in this section? Go on to the next page. Alright, so that was all of your translating from algebraic expressions to words and vice versa. Now we're on simplifying. Part of that is modeling. So we did modeling and simplifying. We are only doing modeling right here. But what we did before is different than this. This is x squared. These are now xy. And these are now y squared. So it's a little different. So anytime you get a key like this, make sure you look at it because it could be different than what we talked about before. Right? Anytime that you see a shaded that is a negative, do we have any questions you want to see me go over on this page? No one asked any questions for you, so you all are good with those. On to the next page. Right? This is similar, but now they're giving you some expression, and they want you to draw out the algebra tiles using those same keys. Any questions on this page?
Are the keys going to be also for Windows or Test?
So if you got a question like this, it would have a key. Any questions on this page? Any we want to see you go over, have questions about? Go on to the next page. Okay, this first page is really just combining like terms. The next page of simplifying is more distributing and combining like terms and things of those natures. Do you have any questions on this page?
For the first one, do we multiply x with sign?
So here, you could multiply these signs together, but you're not actually multiplying anything. The parentheses didn't even need to be there. They could have written this like this.
How do you know when you need to multiply the parentheses or not?
So the only time you multiply is if you have two things next to one another. So like, on this page you're not multiplying at all. But the next page you'll see that we're going to multiply. Did we have any questions on this page? Go on to the next.
So when you simplify your basically just combine your terms?
Correct. To its simplest one, combining like terms, combining the constants and the variable terms, the exponent terms. Did you have a question? This one? You said can you do 8? Or were you asking about the answer? Yeah. Were there any others on this page? 9. 5. Alright, let's start with those. We'll work with 5 and go down, and then if we need to go back, we'll do that. Alright, 5. Here, when you see something that's squared, that is only to the variable, that is not to the number in front, do not square the numbers here. Evaluating, you can do that. Here, we cannot. These two things are next to each other, so we do have to multiply those. Bring everything else down. Trying to make these look different. And then you would combine like terms, if you have any. So if we combine like terms, what would that give us?
I have a question. Why use square first before you multiply the addition later?
So that's what I was explaining. So this is like 2 times x squared. The square doesn't go with the 2. It's its own separate.
So is it negative 4x
But if you would
squared
need to
plus
solve
60?
this,
Hold on one second. Say that answer and then you can finish your
Negative
thought.
4x squared plus 60.
Finish your thought.
so if you would need to solve it, now you have to combine your terms, that would apply this way.
So you're thinking simplifying or evaluating. If you were evaluating where, hold up. Okay, what was I saying? If you were evaluating where you have like these where you're putting a number in and you're trying to get to a one answer at the end, then yes, you would square. Then you would square. But here we are just simplifying expressions in general. So we just want to combine like just the numbers, not the exponents. So I would say, look at what it's asking me. Right. Other questions on 5? Eight, similar to what we did in the chart by 8. You have a fraction out here, you're going to distribute. What would we distribute? What number would we distribute here? 1. Negative 1 though. It's invisible, so remember that it is negative 1. If you need to put it in, you can do that. Just give the rest of this and then email me.
Oh, I finished the
Email me if that is okay. Alright, so then you can multiply 1/2 and 6 or divide. And then multiply 1/2 and 12 or divide. And then multiply negative 1/10. Combine your like terms. So we would have 0x. We would not put 0x, we just would not put x's at all. They would just cancel. What would be left?
We're adding two. You do the same.
Right? So when you are distributing your negatives, make sure that you double check your math. This negative times this negative would be a positive. And then when you combine these, make sure you're adding. Right? So sometimes your variables disappear. Sometimes you make them disappear by accident, so be careful. Right? Questions on 8.
So for example, if you would write 0, 21 would be the same thing, 0x.
If you wrote 0, you should not write 0x at all. Because
Or just x.
you wouldn't write x either. The 0 times anything is 0, so we wouldn't write the x. And you could put plus 0, but that would be the same. You want it simplified also. Alright, 9. Let's distribute. Tell me what those new terms would be. So multiply or divide.
Okay.
Someone started to say you can multiply or divide. So if you can divide 24 and 3 or multiply 1/3 by 24, either or.
So
What
they do the
is
same
it?
thing?
Only if you have a 1 up here. What are those new terms?
8x.
And 3x.
3y. And then these two.
3x. And 4x.
4x. Negative 4x. And then
Negative 8 or negative 9?
positive 9.
Oh.
So there's two negatives.
I had
Y
the numbers.
negative 2y.
Oh, no, it wasn't 3. It was 6. I just wrote that one.
It's because I said 3x.
Yes.
You were writing.
Alright, and then combine the terms now. Do we have any other questions on this page? Go on to the next. Right, so this is just like what we were doing Tuesday. Evaluating, putting numbers in 4 variables and simplifying all the way until you get one final answer. Any questions on this page?
Yeah, let's see.
What about the next page?
So in 5, would it be square root 8 and then?
So this is the cube root, so you have to put it in all together. So complicated.
Oh, I cannot spell
If you put your phone back.
What is it? Maximilian. So it's not. No, it is.
Okay, so we would put 8 in, and then in your calculator you could go math 4 to get the cube root. So when you see cube roots, you should not be putting in square roots to the 3rd power. Those are 2 different answers. You're going to get 2 different things. One of these things is the right thing. Also not. And then you would simplify. So, to double check your answers, because we didn't do this the other day when I was talking to you about the calculators. You can either put all of this in at the same time with the numbers, or I can show you how to, I showed some of you when you were practicing, but show you how to check yourself with the variables like we did on Desmos, but in the calculator. So if I wanted to check myself with the calculator using the numbers, I would just retype it, math 4, 8, go to the right, and then do -3. And we should get that same answer we just got. But if I wanted to store a number as a variable, I want x to be 8. So everyone do this. Type in 8. And then you're going to hit this STO button above on. And then x, which is next to alpha. So 8, STO, x, and then hit enter. It will look like nothing really happened. But what it did was it took 8 and put it into x's place. So every time you use x now, 8 will be there, which is why we need to reset the calculators. So then if I retype this, math 4, I'm going to put in x instead of 8, come out, go to the right, and then -3. You should get the same thing.
Wow.
Right, so you can use either method, putting the numbers in, or using the variable.
What if you made a mistake and you know what it's going to be entire same calculation, so we just
So like, you
Yeah.
made a mistake here, you can either type directly over top of it, or you can hit delete. Right. Were there any evaluating questions on the last page? If there are no more questions, you guys didn't ask a lot of questions, so that's me assuming that you're fine with this stuff. But for the rest of the class, you're going to practice. Keep working in the review. You can do as much of that from whatever page, section that you want. And then if you finish the review, you're going to do Delta Math. Because you have one that's due on Friday, tomorrow on evaluating, if you haven't done that already. If you are still missing previous ones, you need to get those done, email me so I can update those grades, / if you did them but did not email me, you need to email me so I can update those grades. Right? You can work together, use Desmos, use your calculator. Remember that you're only using your calculator on the quiz and the test though. Use your notes, use each other, ask me questions if you have any, you move around. Do you have any questions on what we're doing for the rest of the class? Everyone?